Okay, good evening students. This is a quick introduction to dynamic geometry software for our class in Math 302. So the first thing I want to show is how to get there. The website for the dynamic geometry is geogebra.org. And when you open this website, you can go straight to the graphing calculator. However, this is by default set up to look like a graphing calculator with a set of equations and the graph and a calculator tablet down here. I would like to look at the geometry view, and so I can go back over here to the apps and say I specifically want to be in the geometry view, so that you know to get here in one step. From the front page you can also say more apps, geometry, and launch straight into the geometry view. Okay. Once you're in the geometry view, what you have on the right hand side is a plane that you can play with, and on the left hand side are some tools. And notice if you click more, you get more options here, more tools to work with. And in fact, you can even get more on the more and keep going all the way down. The most basic tool to use is the move tool, which will drag or select objects. There's nothing to move right now. The point tool, which will build points. Once I build points, I can use the move tool to move them around. And you'll notice that this little context menu pops up. This lets me do things like change the color or change all sorts of things about this object if I want to. This is also, by the way, where I could change the name of an object. So if I wanted to call this point D, I could rename it to point D, and then the name will update. The segment tool construct segments, and I can have additional tools here, for example a line to extend a line on a segment, or a polygon tool. The circle tool is also very useful. This is going to be a compass that creates a circle, and if I land it just randomly, then I have a center of A and point B, or I can create that circle and land it on another point, and then that circle is linked to that point. So the radius of the circle will stay linked to the length of segment AD. In this view, I have some construction options. So for example, there's a midpoint tool. And if I click on the segment, then that tool will construct the midpoint. And since this is dynamic geometry, when I move point A or point D, point B stays on the midpoint. So let's take a look at one of our basic constructions, which was the construction of the perpendicular bisector of a segment. You can see here that I can make a second circle with a center at D passing through A. And then I can construct the intersection of these two objects. So if I click on intersect and click on the two circles, then these new points are created, which are the intersection of these two circles. And then finally I can use the segment or line tool, and I can construct this line. And maybe, for example, I want this to be a dashed line. That's easy to do. I can make that a dashed line. And now I've just done the steps to construct the perpendicular bisector of segment AD.